Welcome back to another episode of Minecraft. I'm Jade, and in today's episode, we're out here north of our spawn in a plains biome because I have something that I want to build up here in today's episode. So far in our world, we've found the need for wax. We've built a few things with copper, and we need to keep it from oxidizing. And we also want to use candles as decorative blocks going forward. And we've just entered the copper age, so now we're in 1.21.9, which means if we're going to be building with a lot more copper going forward, we're going to need some wax to keep it all from oxidizing. So in today's episode, I want to build a bee farm. And I want to build it out here. We could build the bee farm anywhere in our world, but I thought we could go ahead and build it and then surround it with another castle. So, I found this spot out here, which I think is a good spot for a castle to go. It's going to be like up on this hill where I'm standing, and it's kind of got this river right here acting as like a natural barrier, and then the cherry grove behind it. So I think it's a great spot for one. I've already done a whole lot of building in creative mode. So I spent like a week building in creative, and it's gotten pretty large. So in today's video, I'd like to build a bee farm underneath and then a large castle on top. And it's already taken me a whole week to get it planned out. So I just went ahead and got as much materials as I could gather here. I'm going to need a lot of diorite in this one, a lot of andesite, and a lot of stone. I want this castle to be kind of bee themed as well. What I mean by that is like the lord of this castle, his sigil, his whole branding is going to be bees. And his whole thing is like he's a beekeeper. So, we got a lot of building to do in today's episode. Let's get started by jumping into a time lapse. So, let's go. Alright, so we've built up a portion of our castle here, and we can go into free cam now to look at it. So, it's already starting to be a lot larger than the last castle that we made. And it's also a different style, so this castle is going to be a lot more fantasy inspired, while the last one that we made was a little bit more realistic. I'm thinking like a lot of tall towers reaching up to the sky surrounding this main tower here that we're working on. And then I haven't worked on the roof yet, but there's going to be like another section on top here, and then a tall, pointy roof. And I think to make it really stand out is like a beekeeper castle, is we're going to make the roof orange and yellow. And we may even include some beehives or some honeycomb blocks in the roof itself. But we need to collect those first before we can build it. So we can look at it a little bit closer too. This is the palette that we used for the tower. So we started off with like the cobblestone and the stone, andesite. We used mostly diorite, I think, and then calcite at the very top. Calcite was a bit of a pain to get. We had to go find like amethyst geodes and just collect all that in the caves and stuff. I don't think there's a door on the bottom, so we're going to have to fly up here to the top and work our way down as we look at it. But inside, this is what it looks like, so it's very grand in here. I made the walls out of quartz bricks, quartz stairs, and then calcite. So very white, very pristine. The quartz was another thing that was very expensive in this build. This little side area is just all a stairwell that goes up and down the castle. The quartz was very expensive. I was in the nether trying to mine it all, and that was taking way too long, so I set up like some villagers and started trading with them. Another thing that was expensive was this red sandstone. I really don't like going through and just destroying all the terrain, but to get this red sandstone, you really have to destroy the mesa. It's like only the top layer is red sand. So if you go in and remove it, it looks pretty obvious what you've done. So this is probably something that you can never really build, or I would never really want to build like something really large out of red sandstone. Kind of just have to use it sparingly. I thought it was good in here because this is the beekeeper castle, so it's kind of matching their colors. And then this room, in the interior here, I made striped yellow walls with like yellow terracotta and yellow concrete. And then these two rooms on the side here are exactly the same. So I think this main tower here that's going to be in the center of our castle is kind of like going to be filled with ballrooms, and maybe the throne room will be up at the top. So this is kind of just, this tower is just here to show off the prestige of the Lord who reigns here. Over here is the exact same as the other side. So we'll probably put some chandeliers coming down from the ceilings in here. And then there's these two doors on the side of both of these rooms. And I think over here on this side, we're going to have it to where you can come down a bubble vader or water drop here. And down here is where we're going to put our bee farm. So we need to collect materials to build the castle. Like I want to use honeycomb in the roof, I'm thinking. And maybe even beehives themselves. Maybe some honey in the build. But we need to collect all those materials. So we need to get the bee farm up and running. I know bee farms are more efficient if they were built in the end or the nether, because there's no day-night cycles, and those affect the bees. But hopefully we're just around this area enough to where we build up some good bee supplies over time. So now I'm going to head out into the world and try to find some bees to bring back here and start up our bee farm down underneath the tower here. So let me do that. Alright, so far in our world, whenever I need wax, I journey out into the world like a madman and try to hunt down beehives to shear. It's a long and tedious process to get honey, but now I know where all the beehives are in our world, so I can go through here as the sun's setting and collect them. We're doing this at night because the bees go back into the beehives to sleep, I guess. And that's when we want to get them, so they'll be full and we can bring them back and build the farm out of them. So I know where a few of them are here, so we're just going to see how many we can get. I got an advancement for that one. Does that mean that there were no bees in the first one that we did? Or does that just mean that second one was 3 out of 3 bees? I don't know. I think there's another one around here somewhere, though, that we can find. I don't know how dangerous this journey is going to be either when things start spawning. We're just going to try to get in, grab the hive, and then get out. And just see how many we can get in total. But I'm really liking our beehive, our bee-themed castle so far. There's a creeper. I'm running. I thought there was one around here somewhere, but this is a really dangerous spot, so I'm going to leave. Yeah, look at our castle. It looks so cool here at night. I really like the stained glass windows. And the colors that we chose. I think going forward, whenever we build... here's another one up here. But whenever we build something new, I think it's good to have a farm alongside of it, because I find myself never visiting some of our older projects, like that fishing village that we built in the first few episodes. There's no reason for me to go back there, so I just rarely ever go there. And it's probably going to be the same with the mercenary castle that we built. in the last few episodes. There's just no reason for me to go there. So we're never going to see it that much. But like with the Beehive Castle, which needs a name, guys, if we can think of a cool name for the bee-themed castle. So I can just stop calling it Bee Castle. But yeah, since it's got the bee farm, the honey farm there, we're always going to keep going back to it, I think. You know, whenever we need honey or bee stuff, so we're always going to see it. And I think that's a good idea going forward. Like, as I was collecting all that quartz from the nether, I felt like it would be good to have, like, a villager trading hall of only stonemasons. So we can trade to get a lot of quartz at once. So, you know, we can make like a location in our world, maybe like a mine or something. And that's where we have our stonemason trading hall. And other farms like that are just like specialty farms. We have a couple farms in our spawn chunks. We have like the iron farm and a moss farm. We've got a sheep farm there that I don't know if it works or not. I think maybe you have to be in range for the sheep to eat grass, because the rates are never that good there. But the thing with that was, like, we built it in the spawn chunks because those farms always needed to be loaded. But any other specialty farms that we build in the future, I think we can build like a location around it. We built, this might be a dangerous one here. Give it. Okay, I flee. I'm running. Okay. Yeah, but like the creeper farm, we just kind of built out over the ocean. And it wasn't, you know, really that fancy or anything. I think going forward, we're not going to do any more farms like that. If we build a farm in our world, we want to, like, incorporate it into the lore of the world as well by giving it a location of some kind. Anyway, I've run out of all the ones that I know of, all the hives that I know of, so I'm going to keep looking here through the night, see how many we can collect. Then I'll go back to the castle and I'll build the bee farm, and then we can show it off. Okay, so we finished up the bee farm down in the basement of our tower, and if we go through these two doors here, we fall down a one wide chute into a block of water, and then this is our bee farm. So I didn't take too much time decorating the ceiling or the floor or the walls of this place. This is kind of more of an industrial part of our world. It's kind of like behind the scenes area. But this is the farm. We've got 17 hives in total, I think. And this design can be expanded infinitely, so we can make this bigger if we need to, but I think this is going to be all the honey that we need for our purposes. I will link the tutorial that I followed down in the description below, but I did make some changes. I think in their design they had azalea leaves right here, and then they had the hopper chain going underneath the hive blocks, and the chest was coming out right here. But I was finding that when the dispensers were shearing the hives, the honeycombs were popping off occasionally and landing on top of the azalea leaves, and they weren't getting collected by the hopper chain. So I changed it out. I used mud here, and the bees, instead of using azalea leaves, they pollinate on the flowers. And then when the honeycomb pops off, they can be picked up through the mud by the hopper chain underneath there. And they end up in this chest right here. And I've AFK'd for a few hours, and this is all the honeycomb that we've collected. Right now, all the dispensers are filled up with shears. But we can go in there if we want and change them out to bottles, and then we can collect honey from this farm. But right now we're collecting all these combs because they're going to be used in the next building part of today's video. I think we're going to jump into a time lapse here and see if we can finish the roof of this tower which is going to be like the main focal point of the castle. So let's go. Okay, so what do you guys think about the completed tower? I like how it turned out in the end. I really like the roof and how we used a gradient to go from orange to yellow. And I like the texture of the blocks that we used up in there. But this is the top room of the castle. And this is why we needed all that honeycomb from the farm that we made this episode. We made the entire ceiling up here out of the honeycomb, and I think that really works to, you know, show the theme of this castle, and I think it makes a good ceiling block. Otherwise, I really don't know what this top room, like what its function would be. It like the stairs are right in the middle of the room. Other than that, we have like some shroom lights with some copper trapdoors. The trapdoors are waxed using the wax that we got from our bee farm. Otherwise, I really don't know what like the purpose of this room would be. I thought about maybe the throne room, but it's kind of too small for that. I think that might be one of those lower levels down there. Well, let's take a look at the castle from the exterior as well. So this is our tower that we've made in this episode here, and I really like how it turned out. I love the shape of it. I think the stained glass windows look really cool. And yeah, my favorite part's the roof up here, which was pretty expensive. The gold itself wasn't expensive. The most expensive thing was like the concrete powder. That actually takes a while to get. Overall, I'm really happy with this tower here, but it's just going to be the first of many. So in upcoming episodes, we'll add towers all around this and eventually a big wall around the front here. And that'll be our fantasy-like castle. But I think it fits in really well, especially when you see the cherry grove behind it. I think it's definitely looks like a flowery beekeeper's castle. But that's all we have time for in today's video, so now we can take a look at the comment of the day. Please don't stop making content, dude. I eagerly wait for the next episode every time. Thank you for the kind words. And yeah, I definitely don't plan on stopping making content anytime soon. I really like the content making process and the video making process. And I find it's a good way to stay inspired in a Minecraft world. Before, when I used to play Minecraft, I would load up a world. I would build in it. I would be really inspired for a while. And then I would lose inspiration, so I would stop playing in the world. And then when I found new inspiration, I would just start up a new world and play on it for a while until I lost inspiration again. But I find making videos is a good process because you got to keep coming up with new ideas. You have to keep looking forward to the next episode. So it's helped me to keep on playing in the same world. And I'm really liking the process. By the time this video comes out, we will have been going on this series for 1 year. And we're only on episode 17, so that's a little bit disappointing. I wish we had more episodes out. But the video making process, has taken longer than I thought it was going to. And I also got busy in the summer of this year, so we only got 17 episodes out in year 1. So hopefully the next year of our series here, we can find ways to be more efficient and we can get more stuff done here in our world. Today we got done with a pretty large tower, a big part of our beehive castle. But in the next episode, we'll continue working over here on the castle. And if you have any good ideas for names for this castle, let me know with a comment down in the comment section. Like a bee theme name or like a honey name or a hive name. Y'all guys usually come up with really good ideas, so we'll see if we can name this castle with one of your suggestions. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the kind words in the comments. Thank you for the support on the series for 1 year. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.